3, 2.
Hello and welcome to the Eclectic Collection. Today, episode 41. Still good people in the world. Boy, did that really come to pass this week. I have had 2 examples in the last 48 that I feel the need to share. It's too good to be true, but it is. There are still good people in the world, and lately I've been really wondering that. I'm having dinner at one of my favorite restaurants the other night with a couple friends, and we're just talking, and I see my mechanic actually, and nice guy, really sweet man. He's there with his wife. I know them. I stop by the table. I say hello, and just happen to be in passing. Sit back down at my table, talking to my friends. He had been there sooner than I was, so when he got up to leave and said goodbye, I really didn't think anything of it. I was eating with 2 other colleagues that he has never met, doesn't know, and never saw before. He stops by, puts his hand on my shoulder. I figure he's just going to say goodbye. So I turn around to say the same. And he says, "Just so you know, I paid your bill." I was stunned. Obviously, I said thank you, but I was stunned. The further shock came when we finished our meal. I just took it to mean that he had paid for my meal. But it turns out that he actually paid for the entire table. And when the server came over and I verified that, I was shocked because I had takeout to bring to my family as well. And he had paid for every single piece of that meal, which was not only unexpected and unbelievable, but just evidence that there are just good people still left in the world. And it made me think of years ago when we would notoriously shoo-bee down to the Jersey Shore and we would go to Brigantine Island, which I love. And now and again, if the toll bridges were backed up, you would wait, especially on a Friday afternoon. And my dad used to just sometimes for no reason pay the toll of the guy behind us, whoever that person was. And I remember thinking that was cool. Or if it was somebody we knew, he certainly did it because our car would be first. And it just gave me a warm fuzzy because you don't see that too often. So this is my shout out to my awesome mechanic. But the funny part was that happened whilst I was with my colleagues who were telling me of a very recent story of another wonderful good deed. My buddy went to France with a bunch of students and luckily left and came back with the same amount of students. I can't account for the fact that they're from our school, but hey, as long as you leave and come back with the same amount of bodies, it's okay, right? Bad teacher joke. Anyway, she was telling me all about it, and all the important things happened correctly and well, and luckily everybody was safe, and no one got sick, and no one got hurt, and everything was good. No discipline problems. However, one of the students lost very important documentation, and to the equivalent of a passport, and that's never good. So immediately the scramble began to go find the consulate, contact the authorities, call back home to the school, contact her parents. Everything that could make you nervous in a foreign country that could happen did. So on a whim, the teacher in charge, my colleague, she contacted the principal just to say, hey, by the way, this is happening. We're dealing with it, but we might be delayed. One of the teachers would have had to stay behind. It would have been a whole nightmare. So as they're waiting and biting their nails to find the documentation and the paperwork, which was in the girl's wallet, so you're talking about money, credit cards, lots of other things that are terrible to get lost. It was interesting that a woman, totally unbeknownst to everyone, Juliet from Minnesota, whoever you are, God bless you. She happened to get on the train right after or shortly after the kids got up and left, found the wallet by happenstance, looked through it, saw the school identification card, takes it to her hotel room, Googles the information, contacts the school, gets a hold of the principal, and explains that she's found this kid's wallet, all of her money, and all of her documentation, and that she's staying at such and such hotel in Paris, and I'm having it locked up with security, so it's safe. Everything's still here. We don't know this person from a hole in the wall, but Again, thank you, Juliet from Minnesota. And it was just unbelievable. First of all, what are the possibilities? Secondly, sometimes people just aren't good, which is sad, but you'd like to hope you find an honest person, and certainly she was. So luckily, the kid avoided a lot of mess and problems and was able to come back on time with the class and all the other teachers and everybody. So crisis averted. Obviously, you can't account for all the lost time and worry, but better to ultimately worry over nothing than have a situation like that. And these two situations made me think of a story that I often tell my students, and everybody really, but years ago I had a really nice bunch of kids. And it's funny, it's cyclical. You get tough classes, you get nice classes, you get quirky classes, you get outgoing classes. Every class has a personality. And in 2011, they were graduates of 2011. These kids were just exceptionally funny and they had a lot of personality. They were brainy. And I ended up teaching a bunch of them that were just friends that stayed friends for a long time. And one of their notorious jokesters, pranksters, and I would argue that he's one of the people in the world that could talk music and lyrics and meanings behind movies and songs and writes as much as I do and enjoys it as much as I do. Really talented guy, and we would always have these conversations about movies and lyrics and books and things. And he was at the shore with a bunch of the guys just hanging out because they were all pretty friendly. And he was on the boardwalk. I want to say it was Ocean City, New Jersey. And this man had his son. He was a young dad. Obviously, this kid's seeing him from behind. And the dad had his kid on his shoulders, walking in front of him, away from him on the boardwalk. And he had one of those chain wallets that connected to his back pocket. Clearly, it was coming out of his back pocket. And it fell. And when it fell, although the wallet stayed attached to the chain, his ID and a ton of money fell out. It looked like the man had just gotten paid, and that was his whole paycheck, probably and presumably for the week on his vacation with his family. And he just folded it in half, shoved it in his wallet, and his ID was in the middle of it. Luckily, it didn't fall through any of the cracks on the boardwalk. And Luke was the guy. Luke went up and found it and ran up immediately to the man and gave it back to him. And I remember him telling me that story when he came back. He was probably 18 at the time, but the guy was super thankful, and obviously it would have been a horrible week had he come to discover that he had no money or any ID. People don't always do things like that. You just don't find that. So I'm glad that not only did he do that, but he also did that as an 18-year-old, because when you do things like that when you're younger, you presumably are going to stay that way as you get older. But those are just three fantastic examples of there's still good in the world. Because I tell you, when you look around sometimes, you see a lot of horrific things, and the depravity is just climbing the walls. And I don't get how we got to this point, but can everybody just stop and maybe think about these examples and maybe put them into good use? I'm not saying you got to take all your money and go give it to your favorite charity, but, help somebody out. Give them a compliment. Offer an older person, cut their lawn, or give them a ride to a doctor's appointment, or, maybe cut their grass, or shovel snow, or, help a friend, assist with homework, listen to somebody you normally wouldn't listen to and make a minute. Stop looking at your phone. There's just so many obvious things that you can do. And I feel like lately, people have been sort of bonding molecularly to the people that are like forces. They say opposites attract, but like forces stay together. And I think there's something to be said for that, because when you encounter a good person, you want to foster that good person and their behavior and the growth of that goodness, because it's just really hard to find anymore. And it doesn't matter about your age, and it doesn't matter about your ability. It doesn't hurt to smile, to be nice, and to say or do basic kind things. I mean, if you do go out of your way for someone, like these, in my opinion, wonderful examples that are pretty extraordinary, again, kudos to you. You deserve it. But even if it's just a simple thing, don't have left-handed compliments. Be like, oh, you look great in that dress, and you really can't stand it. Okay, no, we don't need any more Regina Georges in the world. However, if you truly like it, mean it, want to see somebody, help them out, give a call to a friend you haven't talked to in a while. I just feel like people get so wrapped up in their own lives that they're not reaching out. And you would think, like, given all the awful that's happened in the world lately, you would want to be reconnecting and reaching out and seeing people and catching up with people, because you just don't know what happens in a minute of someone's life, much less a day, a week, a month, a year, or fill in the blank, however long you haven't seen them. So that's my good, warm, fuzzy stories of the day. Looking for something new and potentially mysterious? Oh, yes, you are. You're watching YouTube, so go watch me. Although it's not really me per se, it's me talking because, well, let's just say I'm built for radio. So, Mysterious Morsels on YouTube. What's that, you say? What is a mysterious morsel? Kind of whatever I feel like, but not as eclectic. So be an eclector, but be mysterious as well. So Mysterious Morsels has a lot of cool stuff on it, I think. And some of it you will probably be intrigued by since it's new and just my foray into YouTube. So check that out when you get a minute. And if you liked what you heard today, check us out at eclecticcollectionpodcast.com or your preferred platform. I'm Terry Tenaglia. Thanks for listening.